across this video, but I've always known this from Bible studying on my own. When you break away from organized religion and dogmatic religious teachings, you have a better scientific understanding of humanity and patterns of humanity. So I've said this over and over and over and over and over and over on YouTube and other social media places that when the scriptures talk about in Genesis 1:27 about male and female creation of God, or gods, multiple gods, and that origin story was the creation of humanity before the introduction of the quote unquote Adam and Eve story that they say was in the Garden of Eden and came out of well, they say Africa. However, this is going to back exactly what I say, because they have found genome of ancient bones and human DNA from South America that's separate from some that were found in Mexico, some that were found in North America, some that were found in Canada, some that were found in different European caves. I think one in France, I think they had a different genome that does not link to the DNA that modern day humans, all of us, have, that where we're all connected. They didn't have that. And then this story in sub-Saharan Africa, they talk about these two women that they found their bones in a cave, and the DNA does not match modern day humans. Okay, and I've been saying this. So this bolsters my own knowledge of it, that there were human beings before the link of all of us as human beings that went out of Africa and populated different continents and stuff like this. These pockets of DNA are not here today, and they don't represent the Adam and Eve story, which would go back to Genesis 1:27. Let me play this.
During the same period. Third, what it implies. The Takar-Kori women carried Neanderthal DNA, but only about 1/10 the amount found in modern non-African humans. Around 0.15% compared to 1 to 2%. That trace could only have been acquired outside Africa, since Neanderthals lived in Eurasia. So at some point, very early, a small amount of genetic material from outside the continent filtered in. But after that, the door closed. This population lived in near total genetic isolation for tens of thousands of years. I spent a long time trying to find a good counter-argument to this, and I could not find one that holds up. The sample size is small, 2 individuals, and that is a legitimate caveat. But the genomic data is consistent, internally coherent, and supported by the earlier Tafaralt findings. And here is what makes this story even stranger. The Takar-Kori discovery is not an isolated case. It is part of a pattern that is showing up on every continent where ancient DNA can be recovered. In 2016, geneticist Bastien Lamas at the University of Adelaide sequenced mitochondrial genomes from 92 pre-Columbian mummies and skeletons across South America, dated between 500 and 8,600 years old. These were not random museum pieces. They were carefully selected remains from Bolivia, Chile, Peru, Argentina, and Mexico, representing the broadest possible geographic and temporal range. His team identified 84 distinct genetic lineages, 84 separate maternal lines, representing the full diversity of the ancient Americas. Not one of those lineages exists in any living person today. Let that settle for a moment. 92 ancient individuals, 84 unique lineages, all extinct. The researchers did not need complex modeling to understand the scale of loss. They just compared the ancient sequences to modern databases and found nothing. No matches, no descendants, no survivors. The genetic analysis also revealed something about the pattern of settlement. The ancestors of these populations had split from Siberian groups about 23,000 years ago, spent roughly 6,000 years isolated in Beringia, that land bridge between Asia and Alaska, then boomed outward about 16,000 years ago. After the initial expansion, populations settled into geographic pockets and stayed put. Mothers did not move between groups. Lineages became distinct and localized, and then, after European contact in the late 1400s, most of those localized lineages simply vanished. Lammas described it bluntly. Some of those populations were wiped out completely when Europeans arrived. This is a side note, but it is worth mentioning because it connects to something broader. The oldest artificially mummified bodies on Earth are not Egyptian. They are the Chinchorro mummies of northern Chile, dating back 7,400 years, a full 2,000 years before the first Egyptian mummification. The Chinchorro were coastal fishers who embalmed everyone, not just elites, including infants and unborn children. Their mitochondrial DNA belongs to haplogroup A2. We do not yet have full genome data from the Chinchorro.
Stupid commercial. Anyways, the reason why I am playing this is because my understanding of Genesis 1:27 and its separation in Genesis chapter 2, when it introduces Adam and Eve being the lineage that all humanity that we have today are under, that supposed quote unquote lineage. And I have my theories and stuff about that as well. However, this is clarification that there were many, and they're going to find more. The more that they find these ancient bodies that have been mummified, either naturally or unnaturally or human-induced mummification, they're going to find more DNA that proves that there were pockets of different types of human beings that are described from the gods of Genesis chapter 1:27, that those gods created in their image, male and female, plural. They created them before the introduction of Adam and Eve. That's what I'm getting at with this.